Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Premier Sim Gaming League's YouTube channel. Now it is the turn of the PS4 F7 League to take centre stage for round 6 here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. My name is Jake and I hope you're all having a great day, and I'm sure we are in for some exhilarating action here at the Temple of Speed, which of course takes place in front of a very passionate Tifosi crowd. Before we get stuck into tonight's action, let's have a quick look back at last week's race around the damp streets of Monte Carlo, as Ugi held on to what were his very worn wet tyres, over 90% wear in the end, to claim his first victory of the season, ahead of TB Sen, who took second, while Felix reclaimed the championship lead with a solid yet unspectacular drive to third. Morgan recovered to fourth to keep himself firmly in the title hunt as well. However, our previous championship leader, TNR Jonas, could only manage 10th, which means he is 6 points adrift of Felix coming into this evening's race. So let's just get everything nicely set up. We've got 18 drivers here tonight, so a good turnout. In terms of the full championship standings coming into this one, we've got Felix currently in the lead on 58 points, with TNR Jonas on 52, Morgan on 47, and thanks to his win last week, Ugi moves up to 4th on 30 points, ahead of Tim Mats, who drops to 5th. In terms of the constructors, it's very, very close, particularly between the top 3 in the championship. We've got Ferrari currently sitting on the top spot on 69 points, with Racing Points 7 points behind in second, and Williams in third, despite the fact that Felix has picked up all 58 of Williams's points, so he's very much dragging this team forwards at the moment. And just to make things a little bit more difficult for him tonight, his teammate's not actually racing this evening, so he will once again have to do the work all himself. To give you a little bit of background about tonight, the venue for tonight's race, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, was built way back in 1922, and despite being changed quite significantly since, this track is still very much the temple of speed and a place where all eyes are very much on Ferrari. 3.6 miles make up this circuit, with 11 corners, 4 to the left and 7 to the right, with a lap record set way back in 2004 by Rubens Barrichello on a 121.046, and we have 27 laps in front of our drivers tonight. Of course, there have been some memorable moments at this track. Who could forget the moment where Sebastian Vettel, a young Sebastian Vettel, shocked the world when he won here for Toro Rosso way back in 2008, or even as far back as last year when Pierre Gasly completed his redemption with a brilliant win. And I'm sure we're in for more incredible memories being created here tonight as well, as we ride on board with Sam for his opening lap of qualifying, as he's just coming up to the Variante della Roggia chicane of turn 4 and 5, and now into the Lesmo corners, turn 6 and turn 7. Runs a little bit wide on turn 6. Of course, you will want to run as little downforce as possible here, as there are so many straights along this track, but that does mean you struggle for that more technical middle part of the lap. Coming up towards now the Ascari chicane. This is turns 8, 9 and 10 make up this very tricky chicane. You can see Sam fighting hard at the steering wheel to keep that Alpha Tauri pointing in the right direction. And now the final corner, the classic long right-hander, the Parabolica curve, and it's all about just picking up throttle as early as you can. Sam picks it up very nicely, and to the line, his opening lap time of qualifying is going to be a 1:19.3. His teammate has invalidated his lap, so we will now switch to going on board with the Williams, the championship leader Felix, who's out on his first lap, and we'll see how he gets on. Coming up now to the Parabolica curve. Just hearing some news from the paddock that we have got rain for the race. It will be dry for the end, but we will have rain at the start of the race, so expect to see everyone out on the soft tyres in qualifying, because there's not really much point trying to start on mediums. So we've got Felix currently first, Free Gloves and slots into second, Tom goes fourth on his opening lap. We've already got Nick Mania, who's had an accident on his lap, so that's the end of his first effort. It's like Game Freak has backed off his lap. TNR Jonas goes to pole on an 18.3. Bryn slots into second place. Trying to find who's furthest into their lap. Is Dimsky still pushing? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. I think he's still going for it, but a massive tank slapper at the exit of the Ascari chicane. Dimsky, by the way, has now got a full-time seat in F7. He's joined the Mercedes team alongside Marcus, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do here now he's got a full-time capacity in this league. This opening lap isn't going to be too much to shout about. It pops him into 8th place in these early stages. Ugi has invalidated. Let's go on board with Morgan. We all know how quick this driver is. Certainly put himself into the championship reckoning in the last few races. And of course, the ultimate pressure this evening, be racing at Monza in the Ferrari. How will he cope with it? He runs to the line on his first effort, and he goes to provisional pole on an 18.2. Very, very nice effort indeed. And just to start that, he would have wanted his teammate, who's out just behind him, has invalidated his effort. So has to settle for that one, and will probably come back into the pits. Game Freaker has gone for a second flying lap by the looks of it, and moves up to 4th on an 18.7. Not bad. Still half a second though off the initial benchmark set by Morgan, and that's a top lap time. And that really is most drivers' opening gambits done. I don't think Ugi's pushing. I'll follow TB10 just to see if he's going for another lap. Looks like he's still pushing on, but he's gone into the gravel on the exit of a Variante della Roggia, and that will be his lap kind of ruined there, I'm afraid. He's still pushing on, I think just to get a banker if anything else, but you can see there just running out of grip slightly on the exit of a corner. Let's follow Marcus then in the Mercedes, formerly VRT Balkan, if you weren't too sure. And speaking of PSN name changes, PB Racing has reverted back to LR Bryn, so Bryn is back to his old PSN name. And yeah, it's not a new driver, that's just a reversion back to his old name, which to be fair, I think most people knew him better by anyway. So that's no harm done there. And he's currently set a very nice lap to go into P3 as Marcus battles with the rear end of that Merc. Cruise turns 4 and 5. This track not quite as dangerous as it used to be in the past. Obviously we had those steeped curves, banked curves that used to lay on the old circuit, but it's still a very exhilarating lap around this track. Such high speeds throughout the majority of it, and still very different to a lot of other tracks we have on the calendar as Marcus invalidates his lap. Gonna see who's close to starting a lap. We've got Sam just coming on into his second flying lap, so we'll check out how he's getting on. Furry Lando's also returned this week. He got a race ban which he served at Monaco, but he has returned tonight to the grid. And you can see him there currently with the 13th and slowest lap time that's been set thus far. Looks like AlphaTauris are in chat together because they are both going on to their laps at exactly the same time. And speaking of that, just found out some interesting news, although I'm going to cut myself off there because Sam has crashed out of qualifying around the first Lesmo, lost a back end on the exit and couldn't gather it up in time and has gone smashing into the opposite wall. And his teammate's about to see a very unwelcome sight here when he goes around the first Lesmo himself. He'll see his teammate in the wall and out of qualifying, and a 1:19.3 is the best he's going to be able to manage, and I'll be shocked if that time was to stay in the top 10 by the end of qualifying. As Bando Biz battles with the AlphaTauri on the exit of Ascari, he's got some traffic ahead. Furry Lando keeps well out of the way. He's trying to use every bit of slipstream as he can here as he goes towards the Parabolica. And up to the line, Bando Biz will go for his opening effort of the qualifying session. And that was very useful, that bit of slipstream, because it moved him up onto second place on the grid. So a nice lap from him there. I think Felix is about to complete his second flying lap of qualifying. Let's see what this does for him as he goes across the line now to go up to 4th. But Bryn could be about to knock him straight down to 5th again, because he's also on an effort, as is TNR Johnny, so keep an eye out on what he does as well. But Bryn is pitting, so he's not finishing his lap, and Jonas has invalidated, so he's not going to improve just yet. Vapor Zero has invalidated his lap. Quite a few invalidations going on here. Penalties could be very crucial around this track, as we see Powdy struggle with the back end of that Alfa Romeo. To go through the Lesmos now. Powdy currently just outside the top 10. Still, it's Morgan at the moment who stands on provisional pole, exactly what the Ferrari fans want to see. TV Sen doesn't look like he's pushing, so we'll follow Tim Matsu just past him, who's very much is. A good season so far for him, 5th in the championship with some solid, consistent results thus far, but not quite hit the heights that he perhaps would have hoped. But if he can keep up that consistency, he should be in for a solid position in the championship going forward. Currently only 12th in qualifying, but I don't think that's a truly representative lap that he's put in thus far. He's on a much better lap this time around, providing he can get Ascari just right, which he has done. I think we'll just see Oogie there move up to P6, the race winner from Monaco last week. Looking to build on that, and he's another driver whose recent form has really been impressive. Got a 4th at France and followed that up with a win at Monaco, so he's definitely heading in the right direction. What does this lap do for Tim Mats? It moves him up to 9th place at the moment. I'm interested to see what Morgan does. He's invalidated his lap though. He was a 10th up. But I'm guessing through the Ascari chicane, he's obviously just took a little bit too much speed. Tom AJ is not improving. So Dimsky invalidated his lap. I don't think there's anyone out there at the moment who's on a particularly flying lap. So at that point in qualifying, 6 minutes to go. Morgan's still on pole, but Bando Biz putting in a very good lap to go provisionally to P2. But he definitely picked up a bit of a toe down the straight leading to Parabolica, so it'll be interesting to see if he can actually improve on that time. It might be tough for him to do so. Just going to see. TV Sen invalidates. He was on a lap, but he's just struggling to put it together at the moment. Tom AJ pits. Have we got Bryn out there on a lap, I wonder? I'm just going to see what Ferry Lando's first sector is first. Okay, it is much quicker, 3/10 quicker. So we'll see what the McLaren driver does. Through the Lesmos, pretty nicely into turn 6, actually got the nose of the car in pretty well. That was kind of Sam's problem earlier on, he just couldn't get the nose into the apex. And from there on in, he was always fighting the car, and unfortunately, the car won that battle on that occasion. So yeah, this is a much better lap from Ferrolando, but he has invalidated around Ascari, so that is the end of that lap, and he's got Bryn just behind him who does exactly the same thing, so none of those drivers there going to improve their lap times just yet. Dimsky has improved to 10, so moves inside the top 10 does the Mercedes driver with decent effort. Let's go back on board with Bando Biz. Nick Mania, I think must have crashed out earlier on the session as well, because he's stuck at the back, and I didn't actually see his crash, but not ideal for him. Bando Biz looks to find just that little bit of extra time to move ahead of Morgan, but in his attempts to do so had a massive tank slapper out of the Valier della Roggia, and that is the end of his latest effort. So we'll switch over to Marcus. Yet to get a competitive time, well, any sort of time in at the moment. He'll be hoping they can change that. You don't want to be starting around the back here, especially in wet conditions at the start of the race. So we'll see what sort of time he's looking at through. You're looking at a sort of low 52 to get up there. 51.9 is actually very competitive, so if he can keep this lap going through Ascari, he's on course here to get, I would say, probably definitely into a top sort of 5 region here. So as long as Parabolica goes well here, this is going to do a lot of wonders for Marcus. Was 17th without a time to his name, but he's definitely going to improve on that now as he runs up to the line, takes the line of least resistance to scrub off any speed. Marcus, not only that, he goes on to provisional pole position at 18.2. Nice lap from Marcus there. He looked good through the middle sector and he's kept it going to the end, and Morgan has been dropped to P2. Great lap from Marcus there, completely out of the blue, it has to be said, but nicely done indeed. And Marcus has now retired, so he's decided that lap's good enough. He won't be doing anything else, so he's set the benchmark for everyone's going to have to aim at. The question is, can anyone match his lap time, beat it, to take pole position away from him? We're going to follow Ugi Azim, who's about to start a lap. Didn't actually see too much of him in the closing stages at Monaco, but just because he was so far out in front, but because of his tyres being over 30 laps old on full wets, he really lost a lot of time to TB Sen in the latter stages. And I think if it had been a lap or two longer, his tyres would have definitely punctured, so he did a great job to hold on to them. And he's definitely one of the 4 men of F7 right now, up there with Felix, Jonas and more. Give him a few more race wins yet towards the end of the season. A decent enough first sector now. Looks very smooth through turns 4 and 5, and now to the first Lesmo at turn 6. This is looking very solid indeed. In terms of the sort of time we're looking at through the end of sector 2, Marcus was 51.9. How's Ugi looking in comparison? Get him, if he can keep this going, this is going to get him the first couple of rows here. This is going to be almightily close. Definitely going to move him up from his current 7th place. And let's see how he deals with this final Parabolica turn. This is going to be absolutely key here, this run to the line. And let's try and see then, who else have we got on a lap at the moment? TB Sen trying to get a lap on the board, but he's invalidated again, and he'll be so angry about that. You can see there the angry weaves of the steering wheel, kind of highlighting just how angry he was, as Morgan is up on his previous time as he looks to try and reclaim pole position. These are the last laps for most of his drivers now. Tim Matz has moved up to 8th, just behind his Red Bull teammate. Morgan is looking very good here, assuming he can get Ascari right. Ooh, running it right up to the limits of the track, but very, very nicely done. I tell you what, this could just snatch pole position away. Don't know why it's saying my internet connection calls is not currently sufficient to broadcast gameplay, because I can see the stream still working. But nevertheless, Morgan across the line. Is he going to reclaim pole position? Yes, he is. A 1:18.1 for Morgan. Bryn has moved up to 3rd. We've got Game Freaker, I believe that is, who's moved up in position. Bando Biz does not improve. Felix has made a mistake, so he won't improve either. Trying to find someone who's out there who might just cause a shock. Vapor Zero's invalidated, so he's not going to improve. I think that could be it, you know. I don't think there's anyone out there who's going to take pole position away from Morgan. So while one Ferrari has an absolute disaster in qualifying, the other one has very much stuck it on pole position, and that's a great effort from Morgan to do so. Marcus takes 2nd in the end. He'll be absolutely delighted with that. Don't know why there's some issues with the stream. My internet's usually absolutely fine, so I don't know what the problem is on that one. Hopefully it improves. Like I say, I've even got my phone running on 4G just in case. Like I say, hopefully it picks up. There's nothing I can really do to help with it, unfortunately. I'll try and restart the stream between qualifying and race, see if that does anything. So I will end the stream in about a minute just to maybe give it a chance to hopefully improve. Well, Morgan is on pole. I'll quickly wait for the classified qualifying results to come on the screen. I'll go through them and then we'll have a little break before the race just to try and see if restarting the stream helps a little bit. I can only apologise for the issues. Hopefully something can be done about it. But Morgan is on pole, Marcus second, Bryn third. That is your top three for qualifying. And there you can see the rest of the order. Bando Biz in 4th, Jonas in 5th, Game Freaker 6th, Oogie in 7th, Felix 8th, Tim Mats in 9th, Tom AJ in 10th, Free Gloves in 11th, Powdy 12th, Dimsky 13th, Furry Lando 14th, Vapor Zero 15th, Sam is in 16th, and TB Sen and Nick Mania did not set any lap times. That is it for qualifying. The stream will briefly end. I'll get it back up as quickly as possible. Hopefully the stream quality will be better. And I'll see you for the race very shortly.